the only president of the United States that actually played the violin. So everybody thinks I'm just all about money, but that's not it. Okay, so when I was privileged to find out about this violin, Mr. Fleischer, who's my dear friend, told me about the fact that it was available. And in the process of getting familiar with this violin, we heard a story about a Japanese collector who called the auction house to ask about the photographs of the instrument. I don't know if you can see. He was concerned because there's a little knot in the wood on the back of this instrument. As you can see, it's a little brown dot. So he called and they were trying to explain to him, no, it wasn't a cigarette burn and it wasn't anything. It was actually just a naturally occurring little beauty mark. Trying to describe, what is that? What is that knot in the wood? And this guy's English wasn't so good. And so our friend kept trying and trying to explain, no, it's natural, it's beautiful, it's meant to be there. The maker chose this piece of wood because of the beauty of the wood and this tonal quality of the wood. And that's a beauty mark. He kept saying, this is like a beauty mark. And finally this Japanese collector said, oh, you mean Marilyn Monroe? Beauty mark. And the guy said, yeah, Marilyn Monroe. So at that time, all the dealers in Boston said, this is now the violin made by Giovanni Battista Cerruti in 1810. Now is christened the Marilyn Monroe Cerruti. So that's the story. So this violin was made exactly 200 years ago in Cremona, which is the magical city where all the Stradivarius and the Guarneris were made. And almost exactly 7 years ago, Mr. Fleischer called me and said, you have to see if there is a way to get the Naples Philharmonic to buy this violin. And I said, well, I would love to see the violin, and I'm really excited, but
you were playing in Carnegie Hall.
Right. So we all rendezvoused in New York City. The violin came down from Boston, and you came up from Miami, and I came up from Naples, and we all rendezvoused there. And the very first time I saw this violin was on the stage at Carnegie Hall.
Oh my God.
I was performing on another violin that evening with the Bergonzi Quartet. Long story short, I tried the violin, and it was, wow, such a beautiful violin.
In the elevator. Do you remember in the back of Carnegie Hall, in the elevator scene, and you're playing in the elevator? Because
Yes.
there was no other place to play.
Well, but they finally let me out on the stage right before our concert. I walked out and the hall was empty, and I played it on the stage of Carnegie Hall. And, it hadn't been adjusted yet. It hadn't been played on much, but it was so gorgeous. So that evening, I think it was that night, before the concert, my friends Tom and Serge Bennett were in New York to hear our concert. They had come down from Boston, and I was telling the story. Well, Will Fleischer, my friend, he thinks that this is a great violin. I agree, it's an amazing violin, but there's no way Myra Daniels is going to buy this violin because she just bought a very fancy cello for our principal viola, and he spent all this money. There's no way she's going to cough up all that money. And I was telling her about the violin, and Soja asked me suddenly in the dinner, she said, well, do you like the violin? I said, oh my God, it's such a beautiful violin. And Soja said, well, if you like it, why don't I buy it?
Who said that?
Soja Bennett. And all the food fell out of my mouth. I was just shocked, So we started to explore the possibilities, and 2 months later, she purchased the violin, and I took possession of it pretty much exactly 7 years ago. So, anyway, here's the birthday card. This is a note for Soja. Soja and Tom Bennett. And this is the birthday card for Marilyn Monroe. And it's supposed to make a sound when I open this. It says, I dare you not to laugh at these jokes. It's just a silly birthday card. But anyway, it says, Happy 200th birthday! Woo! Go Cerruti! It's very hard to find a birthday card for a 200-year-old.